Hi guys, welcome back. Phone is the microphone again. Fan is behind the camera because this heat wave is killing me. By the time I'm posting this, I'm sure the heat wave is going to be done because it's already on its second half now. But just walk with me here. Imagine how crazy a heat wave is in Europe without air conditioning. And now imagine that you have a cold. I am struggling. I'm on the struggle bus and I'm forcing myself to drink ginger tea because that's the only thing I can think that might help me. Time isn't doing anything. And when I'm drinking a hot tea in this weather, it feels like I'm creating a steam room inside of my body, and it's just melting everything. And it's taking whatever headache I have from this cold and just multiplying it by the power of a million suns. So that's where we're at right now in Europe. But there are many beautiful things about living in Europe. And one of the most important things about living in Europe and moving to Europe is being able to learn and speak a European language. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I've been learning to speak Italian. My credentials are, I live in Italy, and I live in a small enough town where most people don't speak English. When I have to interact with the embassy or opening a bank account and stuff, even I'm sure if I tried at a restaurant to speak English, I could, but most people in general out and about were speaking in Italian. So it's really pushed me to learn it and get to a comfortable position. And so I feel I've learned a few really good things about learning a language because I also took Spanish and French when I was younger in high school and college. And this has just been a really different experience, and I can speak at such a different level here, living in Italy. Obviously, right off the bat, I'm really fortunate that I get to use my Italian every single day. One of the best ways to learn something is just to jump in and do it. And so I'm able to do that because I live here and everybody speaks it. So I would say number one, one of the best things that you can do is try to find an Italian friend, try to find an Italian person. And whether that's online, looking for forums or something, or online tutoring things Preply, I think, and there's other language learning things where I know you can sign up and talk with native speakers and stuff. It's just a really good way to once you learn the basics, that we'll talk about how to learn those, jump into using it, because that's to me been the best thing. And pronunciation is so important. I think it'll get to a point where you'll be reading things and learning things and hearing things, but if you don't know how to say them, you can't say anything, so no one's gonna understand you. So here you go. I feel I have, in the course of my 1 year living here in Italy, I've been going through phases where I'll study for a few weeks, and then I'll stop for a few months, and then I'll study again for a few weeks. And every time I come back to studying again, I've tweaked it to make it more efficient and easier for someone that actually wants to learn a language really quickly. And I think that that's been really helpful for me. So I think I've really tweaked this process, which is why I wanted to share online. Basically, here's what we're gonna do. I use two platforms mostly when I learn my languages. One is GoodNotes, and that's where I'm taking all of my notes. And the second is Notion, and that's where I organize all of the notes that I need to take. So everything that I say, you should adapt. Oh, I can't. They logged me out of Notion. All right, we're logged in. So I'm gonna show you what I've been organizing currently, and my level is sort of between A2 and B1. So you can also tweak this to start at A1, but here's what we've got. I created a Notion page, and I have sections for the levels. So right now we're gonna look at the A2 level, and then we're gonna go to the B1 level. And it's broken into two sections, grammar and vocabulary. And basically I researched online what it means to be A1, A2, B1, B2. And this will kind of help you get a gauge at finding your study materials, textbooks, websites, YouTube videos, audiobooks, and stuff like that, if you go based off of these A1, A2 levels and stuff like that. So here we have vocabulary and grammar that you need to have mastered before you can consider you can speak and communicate, comprehend at an A2 level. So a list of grammar, which incomprehensively includes passato prossimo, imperfetto, futuro semplice, condizionale, imperativo, riflessivi, tipo così. And then vocab is dates and times, family relationships, etc. And then I also did the same thing for B1. So it's a little bit more advanced that I found online, it counts as like B1. So condizionale composto, tra passato prossimo e altre cose importanti. E ci sta. But basically, once you have this like list, and I have it set up as like a checklist, then you go online and you can find like a lot of different resources for a lot of different like levels of Italian. There are so many free resources out there. I've never paid for anything, so you definitely don't need to either. And what I do is I use Quizlet like religiously, and I will start by going on GoodNotes, and I will take like comprehensive notes on the subject. So for example, like my reflexive notes, I'll show you. That was like reflexive and I think something else. But also when I'm taking the notes, like I don't just write down the conjugations and like the grammatical structure. I wrote down a bunch of examples that like I would use in my day-to-day life. I got dressed, I had fun, I fell asleep, I took a shower, I remembered, I fell in love. Also like for other things like how do you feel, what time did you wake up, stuff like that. And I write down like the sample sentence based on the thing that I just learned. And then I go into Quizlet and I make a Quizlet flashcard set with like one thing in Italian and one thing in English. So I'd write like mi sono svegliata, I woke up. And I have like a bunch of those like that for like not just, you know, reflexive, also for condizionale and like all the different grammar that I'm trying to learn. And then on Quizlet you can like learn. There's like not the flashcards, you can do the thing called learn. And then I toggle it where it asks me the question in English and it's not multiple choice. It's not any, the only way that I can respond is if I type it out. And so it asks it to me in English and I have to type it out in Italian. And I found that that's like the quickest way for me to be forced to learn something, because obviously I'll recognize something quicker in Italian and can translate to English because like a lot of the words look super similar. But for me to see something in English and then be forced to come up with it in Italian has really helped me when I'm actually trying to speak, because I still am at a point where sometimes I'm still thinking in English and switching it into Italian. Also, like when I'm texting, I'm like, okay, what do I want to say? And I have to fully from scratch, like no flashcard, no multiple choice, nothing, like have to type out, okay, this is what I want to say in English, this is how I say it in Italian. So going through that on Quizlet over and over again for like all these different grammar things with sentences that like I would use, once I have those sentences memorized, like you can really easily also apply like those structures to other words, if that makes sense. Like if I have it memorized how to say I woke up at 8, I can easily learn how to say I showered at 8, I left at 8, etc. I know like a lot of people find it really helpful to listen to music and TV and stuff like that, and I've honestly felt like in my time living here I do listen to music but not that much, and I don't actually watch any TV really in Italian because I find that it still just goes like so fast that I think if you're just getting a lot of input and you don't always understand exactly what it means, it's maybe not the most valuable input. So this is what I recommend to do. And also if you're looking for something like really specific, you can also ask ChatGPT to like take notes on something for you and be really specific about like what you're confused about. For example, sometimes like I will hear something a lot living here, but I won't really understand like what it means. So I ask ChatGPT, like I give an example of it. I'll be like, what is this and how does it work? And then how can I conjugate it for me, you, he, she, boy, noi, like all that kind of stuff. And then you can also kind of like build off of that. Grammar can be really challenging, I think, especially with Italian, and I found that this was like a really good way for me to learn it. Vocabulary wise, I think just like normal flashcards are really great, like to learn like the ARE ending words, IRE, ERE ending words, like flashcards, like a lot of repeating that and then just like speaking out loud. Even if you can only speak in the present, like try to just say like andrò in spiaggia, or like really practice saying the words as much as possible. And I know that I still mess up like all the time. This is a very difficult language, but I am getting to the point where I think starting from scratch, I've learned so much and I'm still learning. I know I'm never going to finish learning this language, but I'm getting to a point where I've found what helps me learn really quickly. And that's what I wanted to share with you. So anyways, io devo andare a prendere un gelato con amico, quindi ci vediamo prossima volta. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time.